Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're going to break down an absolutely fantastic book, J.L. Collins's The Simple Path to Wealth. The whole point here is to take all that amazing wisdom and boil it down into a super clear, totally actionable roadmap for you. So let's just dive right in. We're always told that money is, well, complicated, right? It feels like this big, scary maze of jargon and complex strategies that's only for the experts. But what if, and this is a big what if that's just not true? What if the path to building real, lasting wealth was actually simple?
So before we can even get to that simple path, we've got to be real about where most of us start. And that's in this just overwhelming world of money. That's exactly where J.L. Collins kicks things off. He gives us a roadmap to get out of all that confusion and start heading towards what we're all really chasing, right? A rich, free life.
And let's be honest, it feels totally overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it? You've got the constant noise from the news, all this conflicting advice. I mean, it's enough to make you want to just stick your head in the sand and ignore the whole thing. The great thing is, Collins gets that. He knows it feels super complicated, but he promises us it doesn't have to be. There's a much clearer way.
All right, so what's step one on this map? Well, before we can even dream about building wealth, we've got to face this huge monster in the room. And Collins puts it perfectly. We have to slay the debt dragon. He calls it the unacceptable burden. And man, is he right.
And this quote from the man himself, wow, it just gets right to the point. His whole argument is that we've been taught to think debt is normal. It's just part of life, right? But he's saying, no way. It's a vicious anchor, and it's actively killing your chances to build wealth. The very first thing you have to do is change your mindset. Stop seeing it as normal and start seeing it as the enemy you need to attack. Okay, so how do you actually do that? Well, Collins gives us a super clear step-by-step battle plan. Step 1, you list out every single debt you have and you write down the interest rate next to it. Step 2, you pay the minimum on everything just to keep your head above water. But here's the magic, the key part. You take every extra cent you can find and you throw it at the debt with the absolute highest interest rate. Just obliterate that one. And once it's gone, you take that whole payment and you roll it on to the next one on the list. It's like a snowball of debt destruction. A really powerful, focused attack. All right, but I know what you're thinking. What about good debt? Like a mortgage or student loans. Collins comes right at that idea. He says, look, society might call it an investment, but at the end of the day, all debt is a constraint. It ties your hands, it limits your freedom, your choices, it makes it harder to walk away from a job you hate. It's a chain, period. Okay, so once that debt dragon is toast, it's finally time to start building your financial fortress. And this brings us to the real heart of the book, the ultimate wealth building tool. Collins is about to show us a ridiculously simple but unbelievably powerful engine for growing your money. And check this out. Before he even tells us what it is, Collins brings in a heavy hitter. This is a quote from Warren Buffett himself. Yeah, that Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors ever. And what does he recommend for most people? A simple, very low-cost S&P 500 index fund. I mean, when a guy like Warren Buffett gives you advice that's this straightforward, you should probably pay attention. So, what the heck is an index fund? It's actually genius in its simplicity. See, instead of trying to be a stock-picking wizard and finding the next big thing, which is basically impossible, an index fund just buys everything. It buys a tiny piece of all the stocks in a major market index like the S&P 500. So you're not betting on a single horse to win the race. You're betting on the entire race itself. Pretty smart, right? And Collins doesn't just leave it there. He gives us his specific tool of choice, VTSAX. That's the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. Now, this fund is even broader than the S&P 500. It doesn't just track the 500 biggest companies, it tracks the entire U.S. stock market. We're talking maximum diversification with basically zero effort. The whole shebang. So why is this one simple tool so darn powerful? Well, think about it. You get a piece of thousands of companies. The costs are rock bottom, so more of your money stays in your pocket, working for you. And the biggest thing? It gets you out of the completely futile game of trying to pick winning stocks and outsmart the market. It turns out simplicity isn't just easy, it's your secret weapon. Okay, so you've got the tool. Awesome. But that's only half the story. The other half, maybe the more important half, is all about what's going on between your ears. We've got to talk about how to survive the market roller coaster. Because honestly, your mindset, your psychological strength, that's what's going to make or break this whole thing. Listen,
This right here might be the most important thing you hear all day. Get this into your bones. Market crashes are not a maybe. They are a win. They are going to happen. They always have, they always will. But, and this is the crucial part, the market has also always come back and kept on climbing higher over the long run. Every single time.
Collins has this awesome analogy for this. He calls it the foam and the beer. So the foam on top, that's all the daily noise, the crazy headlines, the stock prices bouncing all over the place. It's just distracting froth. But the beer underneath, that's the good stuff. That's the real underlying value of all the amazing businesses you own a piece of. Your one job is to ignore the foam and just focus on the beer.
When you get right down to it, it's this simple. Your number one enemy as an investor is not a stock market crash. It's you. It's your own panic. And you know what your greatest ally is? Patience. That's it. If you can just master your own emotions and stay the course, you've pretty much already won the long game.
Yeah, this image really nails the vibe, doesn't it? Building wealth with this strategy isn't about frantic buying and selling. It's about a calm, almost Zen-like discipline. Seriously, your ability to just sit there and do nothing while the world is freaking out, that is a superpower. That's the real meaning of a buy and hold strategy.
So let's fast forward. You've done it. You slayed the debt dragon. You've been investing like clockwork. You've ridden out the market roller coasters. So now what? Let's talk about the destination, the goal line, actually living on your investments. How do you flip the switch and turn this big pile of assets into a paycheck you can live on? Well, the whole plan kind of boils down to this one simple, incredibly important number, 4%. So, what's so magical about 4%? It's something called the 4% rule, and it's a game-changing guideline. Here's how it works. Based on a ton of historical data, the research says you can pull out 4% of your entire portfolio in your first year of retirement. Then, every year after that, you just adjust that same dollar amount for inflation. If you do that, there's a super high chance your money will last for at least 30 years and probably a lot longer.
So that begs the question, how much do you actually need to save? This chart makes it ridiculously easy to figure out. You just take the amount of money you want to live on each year and multiply it by 25. That's it. That's your number. So if you want to spend $40,000 a year, you need $1 million saved. If you want to spend $60,000, you'll need $1.5 million. See? Now you have a real concrete target to shoot for. And really, that brings us back to the formula that ties this whole thing together. It's so simple it almost sounds too easy. Spend less than you earn, invest the difference, avoid debt like it's the plague. And then, and this is the really hard part, you just leave it alone and let it grow. That's it. That's the simple path, the whole thing, right there. So I want to leave you with this one question. This whole path isn't about some giant heroic leap. It's about a bunch of small, simple steps taken over and over again. So, what's one simple change, one tiny thing you can do today to get started on your path? Think about it. Thanks for tuning in.